I want to be like a fly on the wall in just the average coffee shop in Cape Town. I mean, when you all see this stuff on the news, you're like, these guys are freaking crazy. Or, I mean, are you like, holy crap? I mean, what thoughts are you going through your mind?
Welcome to the Kingspiration Podcast. This is the place where you'll learn how to get unstuck and gain momentum in your life and business. Each week, we tackle the real aspects of entrepreneurship, personal development, relationships, and fitness. I'm your co-host, Ethan King, from Atlanta, Georgia, USA, entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, and best-selling author of Wealth Beyond Money.
And I'm your co-host, Justin King, no relation to Ethan, from Cape Town, South Africa, entrepreneur, speaker, and business growth strategist. Our journey crosses continents and cultures, sharing wisdom and experiences to propel you forward. Welcome to Kingspiration. Let's start the conversation.
Justin, I have a question for you. Here we are.
Yes.
You're in South Africa. I'm in the US. And I'm curious to know, do you all watch the news about what's going on in the US? And do you have any opinions? I mean, we have some interesting things have happened with, some very historical moments, but we're going through a major election season. And I don't want to talk about politics necessarily with this show. That's not what it's about. But I'm just curious about your perception of things from an outsider.
From an outsider's perspective. So, and I haven't been prepped for this question, so I haven't been able to do my homework. The very first response I'll give to that is I'm a terrible person to ask, because for quite a few, I'm trying to think how long now, for a number of years, I've actually, I've stopped reading the news. So I'll search out certain news that I want to be aware of. And obviously in the work that I do, working with companies and business coaching, I need to be aware of a lot of what is going on. But I just got to a point where the negativity was killing me. Mm-hmm. Every time I would go onto a news app or whatever it is, I mean, you know what it is. It's this negativity sells. So the idea, I felt like is a Chicken Little. The sky was falling every time you go onto open up a news website, open up a newspaper, go into a news app. Literally, the sky was falling. And what is interesting is, having taken that stance to try and remove a lot of this negativity, the important stuff finds you. We live in a day and age where, whether it's on a WhatsApp group, whether it's in your interactions at work, whether it's listening to the radio by chance, there's so many mediums where we are exposing ourselves to every single day. The really important stuff, the stuff that matters, will find you. And then the rest that is just relevant to what you're doing as a profession, you can go and seek out. So, sorry, that's a bit of a cop-out as a starting point, but that's been an interesting change in my own life, is making that choice itself. Then to a point of, do we follow what's going on in the US? Absolutely. Particularly being down on the tip of Africa, and bearing in mind the world has got more global over the last 25 years, 30 years, gee, time absolutely flies. 30 years, 40 years, it's absolutely got more global. But sitting at the tip of Africa, we always used to look across the pond, look across the ocean for trends. What is happening in the US, what's happening in the UK, and what's going to happen in South Africa. We still absolutely do that to a huge degree. What goes on there impacts us in some way. The time gap of what happens and how it impacts us is just that much closer these days. So understanding what's going on from a political point of view is, for myself, I tune into US politics for a little bit of entertainment at times, more than anything else. It's just so vastly different to what we experience in South Africa. So
it's extremely entertaining this year, right?
Yes, it has been. It has been. The fact that Trump got shot through his ear, I mean, that couldn't be scripted like that. I mean, that's interesting in itself. The politics is really interesting from the point of view, particularly the fact that you get to debate. And it's something that we don't, or the political parties get to debate. And we do it to a degree, but we don't often get our presidential candidates going up one-on-one against each other and putting it all out there. It just doesn't, it doesn't happen.
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
So being able to tune into a debate like that, there's something to that, and I'm pretty envious of that, of it. On that point, the last Biden and Trump debate, you need to. Did you see Tim Urban's newsletter that he put out off the back of that?
No.
Where he transcribed. I'm doing air quotes here. He transcribed the debate between the two. It is the funniest 20 minutes you will experience this quarter, Ethan. It is absolutely worth a read. Tim Urban is a genius. Wait, but why is his newsletter? That he is a genius. It is, and sorry, the reason that I bring that up is that debate and certain moments are so they're just so farcical word. They're just so strange that reading Tim Urban's newsletter, you take a while to realize that it's absolute nonsense and it's not actually what they said to each other. That's how crazy it is. So I've really gone on a tangent here, but yes, we absolutely keep abreast of what is going on. I think to a degree, we know we can't influence it at all, and we'll keep abreast of what is going on and what do we think is going to kind of be coming our way. How is it going to impact our economy, or what are the opportunities that it's going to present for us down here on the tip of Africa? But there are moments
when it comes to like, what are your thoughts on America? I want to be like a fly on the wall in just the average coffee shop in Cape Town. I mean, when you all see this stuff in the news, they're like, these guys are freaking crazy. Or, I mean, are you like, holy crap? I mean, what thoughts you going through your mind?
The comments that will fly around. Thank goodness we're in South Africa. The reality is, look, we've got a lot of shit that's going on in this country, but sometimes we see the things that go on in the US and anywhere else, and we're quite happy to be in the tip of Africa right now. We might walk down Long Street like you did, and we might get our cell phones stolen, but at least we don't have to worry about that. At least we don't have to worry about that. So it's that kind of thought process. It's the idea. Again, we get exposed to only certain elements of it. So it's much like people thinking, coming to South Africa, we're going to, that there is, look, and we do have a crime problem here, but it's not a crime problem where you just can't walk down the streets and you can't it's not to that extent. Or we don't have lions roaming the streets. I mean, there's ridiculous thoughts like that. It's the same as the US. The things that we get fed are just all around. The gun control is a big thing that we'll hear a lot about. And then it's obviously the mass shootings. So now the thought process is, do you go to the US because you're not too sure? Are you going to be involved in a mass shooting, or is there going to be a bomb planted somewhere? Where are you? In your mind, you start thinking, would I be safe there? So that's the crazy thing about the world. The one thing that we do feel about Americans is that the biggest thing that Americans should bottle and export and sell is your self-confidence. Like that. If you're out in a coffee shop and you hear a loud table, it's generally going to be American tourists here in South Africa. So that I will say is, and we often speak about that, is the secret sauce, the unbelievable skill that Americans have is how you commercialize things. Like it is awe-inspiring to see the way that you are able to build businesses and commercialize events. Like sometimes we say it's a little bit cringe because it's a massive sales culture that you have, but man, it works. Like it works, and it's built. What is interesting, and I'm really getting off topic of what you've said, but what is interesting is it has built a culture of self-belief. Most Americans have a huge amount of self-belief in themselves, whereas a lot of other cultures, and I would throw the UK into this, they don't have the same level of self-belief that Americans do have. And the same in South Africa. We don't necessarily grow up, and like a lot of people have it, but you don't always grow up thinking, man, like I can do this, man. I have every opportunity. I've got every opportunity to build anything that I want, be anything that I want. We don't always have that. And I think not every American would have it, but a large percentage of them do. And it's what makes America one of the superpowers. It's if not the superpower that you are. So that's an interesting thing that always stands out for me. Yeah. And does come up in conversation.
Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Like the American way.
Yeah,
It's yeah, that I
the
guess
American way.
that brazen culture, and that's what fuels innovation, right? Because
Yep.
it's the fact that you can have so much, personal individual growth that drives a lot of people to innovate. Whereas, and I didn't get this until I visited Cuba a few years ago.
Mhm.
And, they're stuck in the 1950s where the cars are literally from the 50s and they haven't really innovated. And a lot of that has to do with the embargo and the decisions that the government has made. But the trade-off is they're happy. The people, everyone I met in Cuba was like so happy. Everything was laid back. People would hang out till 2 a.m., just hanging out in the streets, entire families. And they didn't have a worry in the world because they can't get ahead. So it's like everyone gets up in the morning and they work for 90% of them work for the government in some capacity because they have to. So that's socialism. But the trade-off is there's no innovation there. Whereas when you have a capitalist society and people are fueled by personal growth, that's a great impetus to innovate the hell out of something, right?
Yeah. But I mean, what is the knock you referred to it? What is the knock-on impact or the knock-on effect of this really significant increase in your minimum wage going to be? Because do you think that crushes some of that innovation or that spirit? Because you can be pretty comfortable now by being, well, I must choose my words carefully, but that gives you the opportunity of just sitting back and being comfortable rather than really having to hustle.
I think that the average person gets it confused. Like increasing minimum wage. And I said this years ago, like when they were pre-COVID, when people were talking about, hey, let's increase the minimum wage to $15, which at the time seemed radical, but now it's more like $20. It is $20 in California. But I said back then, that'll just make the price of everything more expensive. It's going to be a wash. And a few people agree with me because they understand economics, but a lot of people are like, oh no, it's just corporate greed, blah, blah, blah. The corporations can pay more. And I know it doesn't work like that. If the average McDonald's employee was making $7 an hour and now they're making $20 an hour, your Big Mac is just going to cost 2.5 times more. That's just how it works. Yeah. And that is exactly what has happened. Everything is super expensive. Now, I think what people think that they want is really universal base income. And that it's more in which I've seen, I don't know a lot about it, but I've seen it work. I think they have it in some other countries, like in the UAE or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I watched an interview with Peter Diamandis, and he says that we are definitely going to have universal base income at some point in the near future. Just with AI and robots, they're going to be able to do so much that UBI will have to have it for humans at some point. But I don't know enough about it to really speak on it. But it's two different things. It's not like raising the minimum wage does not equate to UBI. And I think that's where a lot of people are misled.
No, it would also be very interesting to know what net position people are still in, considering where inflation has gone now with the raised minimum wage anyway. They might not be that far off where they were. So that's very interesting in itself. I think the universal basic income, they actually did a recent study. I need to go back and look at the results of it, but they did a study and where they actually gave a group of individuals, I think it was $1,000 a month for about a year, or maybe just over a year. The results and the outcomes were less than flattering about it being a really positive way forward. And I don't want to say, because I can't remember exactly what they were, so I don't want to misquote anything, and I'll try to find that. And maybe that's actually a really good conversation for you and I to have on another episode. But it didn't point at all these markers that people were potentially or possibly expecting. But not to say that it's a completely negative thing. And as you've said, with the way AI is going, probably are going to have to get there in some way, shape, or form at some stage.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that and have that conversation another day. But I appreciate you sharing your insights and as you all sit in the coffee shops and talk about us brash and brazen
You lot
Americans. No, that's great. All right. We'll catch you next time, Justin.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Kingspiration. We hope this conversation sparked insights to ignite action in your life and business.
We're on this journey together, sharing our challenges and successes to help all of us take the next step towards building momentum and ultimately reaching our goals.
If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit and leave us a 5-star review.
And remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on our weekly conversations. Until next time, keep rolling, keep growing, and keep being inspired.